Hello, everyone. So today we have Miss Brittany Sweet B Stewart. She's a visionary entrepreneur, a herbal wellness expert, and founder of multiple mission-driven brands centered on healing, community empowerment, and sustainable agriculture. As the CEO of TX Herbs, y'all know she has been at almost all of the events that I have hosted. She's been in your bag some way, somehow. She has built a rapidly growing herbal tea and apothecary company known for blending ancient ancestral traditions with modern wellness. Stewart is also the owner of Sweet Bee Pharmacy with a F. Okay. Pharmacy LLC, a medicinal herbal farm currently operating in McDonough, Georgia, with an expanded 10-acre location under development in McIntyre, Georgia. Her agricultural work focuses on regenerative farming, vertical growth systems, biodiversity, and the production of high quality medicinal herbs for retail, wholesale, and educational use. She is driven by passion for food access, education, and social impact. Stewart also founded So What Matters, Inc., a nonprofit dedicated to empowering families and underdeserved communities through sustainable farming, herbal knowledge, and hands on learning programs. Also, across her ventures, she is recognized for creating innovative wellness ecosystems that bridge culture, agriculture, and entrepreneurship. Stewart's work continues to uplift her local community while positioning her as a leading voice in modern herbalism, regenerative farming, and holistic health. I would like to welcome Miss Brittany Stewart, the CEO and founder of TX Herbs, who will be not only hosting a workshop for the conference that we'll be having, but she will also be leading as a vendor at the R&B Tea Party. Let's welcome Miss Brittany Stewart to the Evolve Nurse podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lakeisha. Like, I have so been looking forward to getting on here with you. You are just blazing it when it comes to hosting all of these workshops, and I'm loving it. I'm here for it.
Thank you. And I am so grateful to have you in my ecosystem. I want to tell the people how we met, first of all.
Okay.
First of all, I was on a Black Women Who Homestead group on Facebook, and we ended up going to a meeting. And you brought us, what did you bring us? Did you bring us the little seeds
Yeah.
for loofahs?
Yeah. I had some loofah seeds, and there was another young lady that also had loofah seeds as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it was very popular. The loofah is always a
Yes.
good thing. Yeah.
And you told us about your brand. We connected. And from there, once I did my first event, I was like, hey, I need someone who can vend or send me some samples so that I can put into these gift bags. And you did that right away. And then recently, well, it's not even recent anymore. It's out last year. Last year we did a tea party in which your teas were the focus point of that tea party, and you have been well versed in everything that you do. And I am super proud of you for everything and always being available to me, honey.
It's so funny because that was back in what, 2, 3 when we met, I think?
I
Maybe
think it
earlier.
had to be 23.
Okay, yeah, because since then I've moved to Georgia, and that's why I was like,
Because
that has been a while ago.
you were in Orlando at the time.
Yeah.
And so yes, we met through the internet
Mhm.
initially, but I'm so glad we forged this path. But I do want to talk about your journey into herbalism because I think that most people don't even look at that as medicine.
That's true.
Some people really do not focus on the fact that herbs, how we treat our body, those things are how we can heal ourselves. So I do want to talk about that. I don't want to get too into detail with getting into your workshop information because they'll get that when they come to the conference. But I do want to talk about your journey first. So did
Yeah.
you always think that you would be farming?
Yes and no. So I grew up on a dirt road in Florida, with my grandparents, and my grandfather always had a farm, so he was always teaching us like how to grow vegetables and stuff like that. As soon as I graduated, I ran to the city. I was like, I don't want this life, ran to the city. And then like towards my later teens, I started recognizing that not only myself, but family members and community members were having like illnesses that were just being managed with modern medicine. And I just kind of like started doing my research on it. And I was like, oh, well, this herb goes for this and this goes with that. And I started like, okay, well, I want to start gardening again. So I actually went back home to Florida and got like a, house that had a nice yard to it so I can actually start getting back into it. And that's what fueled my journey. Like I ran from it only to come right back to it.
Yeah, I think that that's what my dad said. Because when I was growing up, I also lived on a dirt road, but my granddad had a farm as well. And I remember my dad not he was like, "I've been doing this all my life, and I don't wanna grow another watermelon. I don't wanna see another pig. I don't wanna run behind a chicken."
Right.
And so then later in age, he did start to think about how he wanted to form his garden again, but because it felt like it was pressure to him as a child because they were on a barter system then. You would be driving to Florida to trade something with your family in Florida from Georgia because you were bartering. But of course, we don't do that a lot anymore. But because of his disdain for having to do it, he ended up running. So you said that you left the city, you came back to a little, maybe a country town. Orlando is pretty big, but you still got the space that you needed. Can you tell me what it looked like for you to start the planning?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, it was more expensive than I thought. I had this mindset that I could just like throw something in the ground and it would grow. I didn't realize like I needed fertilizers, I needed good soil. I had sandy soil, which was different from, where I grew up at. And maybe because my grandfather had worked the land for so long, he got it to where he needed, but I was just starting with just like a backyard. So I had sandy soil, so having to go through I went crazy buying seeds. I still go crazy buying seeds. Like I have thousands of seeds for no reason. So learning to narrow down exactly what I could do in my space and what I would actually eat. And so I do a lot of container gardening because I feel like it was easier to control the environment. The pressure from the pests is so high now because of environmental changes, people moving into areas that were normally wooded areas. And so now the bugs are looking for places to go and things of that nature. So the climate is a little bit different. But my biggest thing was just learning how to grow with what I had and stop spending so much money on all the stuff I would see online because I got sucked into that.
Yes, it's always every time you look at something online, you want it.
Yeah.
You really just want to go ahead and buy it. And sometimes
Yeah.
this stuff is like 500, $600. The raised beds might be $150. It is outrageous, and people really don't know how much it does take to start a garden, but they also don't know how to manage or budget that. The people who came up before us, they didn't have to do all of that, but now, of course, like you said, because we are going into different areas, we were on farmland.
Right.
So while we're on farmland, we see the benefit of just throwing something in the ground, watching it grow. But like you said, you went and got some containers. You felt like you were trial and error. I don't like eating this. We can just do away with that. What advice would you give to someone who is starting their garden?
That's a really good question. I would say treat gardening and farming as a college education. You are going to spend money to fail, but that failure is your learning lesson. So I don't want you to look at it like, oh, it didn't work this time. I spent like $300. I'm just going to give up. You have to keep going at it. That's part of your education. Get with people that's also in your area because they can tell you what's working and what's not. I know the biggest thing that I would say to look for is Google your zip code, your growing zone, and then a calendar for what you can grow at that time. And start with things that you like. If you want to be adventurous, throw one adventurous vegetable into the group, but keep everything else with something that you like. Leafy greens are always going to be the easiest to grow. Tomatoes and peppers are actually very easy to grow when it's very hot. A lot of people have problem with corn because you have to grow enough of it stacked together for them to pollinate each other. So if you don't have that space for corn, I would say just buy it from the grocery store. Cucumbers are very easy. They're very prolific. Green beans and snow peas, like those are, they come in clutch for me. Green beans during the spring and summer, and then I do snow peas for the fall and the winter. So you always have like a bean type going there. And those peas and greens are going to feed the soil. So that kind of helps a little bit. So I definitely say like start with those. Those are good kitchen items that you'll use on a regular. And if you don't have the money to buy fertilizer, save your kitchen scraps. So when you're cooking, anything that comes from the ground, you can put it back into the ground. So vegetable scraps. If you're a person that does tea, like I drink a lot of loose leaf teas, you can put the teas back into the ground for compost. Fish, if you're a person that eats like a lot of fish, if you have the scales, the skin, or the bones, you can put that in there. Dig it deep though, because the critters will come at it. But as long as it's not fatty, as long as it's not carbs or sugar, you can mostly put that back into your garden to keep it growing. And that's a cheap option for fertilizer.
Glad that you said that because I started my garden maybe 2 years ago, and I still have some oregano growing, and I have some lemon balm growing, but I haven't gotten back out there into my garden. I kind of watch it from my window, and I
Yeah.
say, the Lord will just take care, just make it grow. Just and I went out there one day, and I still had some basil out there, but I really do need to get into the habit of nourishing my garden because at some point we're not going to be able to get certain things from the stores.
Yeah.
And I know someone was recently talking about how we used to be able to walk down the street and pick a plum off of a tree,
They're gone.
or like a date off of a tree, a blackberry off of a tree. Like I used to be able to do that, to just go into somebody's yard and get something. And now we're not able to even see that. Even the trees that when I go back home, those trees that bear that fruit, they no longer bear that fruit. And they did for a duration of my life. I would say from childhood to about 18 or 19, I was able to go into the with my shirt and just throw stuff in my shirt. But now we're not seeing people able to even do that anymore.
It's so interesting that you said that because I know I had kind of made like a similar post about that in a group as well. Like growing up, date trees, plums, peaches, oranges, you could literally walk down the street and get it. About a decade ago, the government actually went and they either sterilized trees or they only put male fruit trees out that would not produce any fruit. And then they also made it illegal for anyone to forage for these items. And I really believe that that was a method to control the food access because we got away from having farmers, and a lot of people that were farmers went to bigger cities to get industrial jobs. And I just think it was a method to just control the access to food. And when you control the access to food, then people are reliant on the healthcare system.
And then, and when you say rely on the healthcare system, a lot of people don't have insurance. A lot of people can't afford it. And I can say this from my perspective. Now they're not allowing you to just come get care. They want you to pay something up front. If you have to have a surgery, half of the time you have to pay 1,500 to $5,000 up front before you can get anything done. Sometimes they won't even see you. So to take away access, especially because we have such a large homeless population where I am, and then to see it happening across city, across city, across city, even back home where they're driving up the housing prices. So it's going to price people out of their homes. They've been in these homes for 20 plus years. They don't know anywhere else to go. And so once the investors come into town and it's a pretty good deal for the actual owner of the property, then we'll see homelessness come into the neighborhoods where we once lived. And now homeless people can't just go and get food. So now they are starving. It's so many food deserts. And I did not know that they had done that, but that just speaks to what we're looking at right now because I've even seen them chop off the roots of the green onions lately. So it has been happening to where they're showing that they don't care. Like it's about money, it's not about access. It's always putting money forward and not people, not human beings.
Very true. And I know that has to be difficult for you working in the healthcare industry. I have a lot of nurses in my family. And let me tell you, I always prefer the advice of a nurse over a doctor because I feel like the nurse has to be so well versed in everything. Anytime that I've gone to a hospital, It's the nurse that's always telling me, okay, you need to this, do this, do this, do this. I see the doctor for like 10 minutes. So I can only imagine that as a healthcare professional, that what you are seeing has to be like a little jarring and devastating, because you're seeing so many people now get turned away from the healthcare that they do need because they just don't
Mhm.
have funds for it.
Recently, we had a child who couldn't get an implant, and the insurance was like, "We're not going to pay for that implant. You could get a cheaper one." And the doctor was like, "No, this is what we need. Like, this is what we need so that this child can grow up healthy, able to move appropriately, and so that we can regenerate tissue effectively." And the insurance was like, "Figure it out, because we're not going to approve that." Like,
Yeah.
it is a bit overwhelming to be in the system, because you go into healthcare because you want to help people, and this is the biggest way that you see that you can help people. But when you are in it and you see what is happening within the system, it is heartbreaking. But you stay because the people need representation. If I know that I'm going to be an advocate for somebody, then I want to take up space so that I can advocate. But
Listen.
let's talk about your medicine.
Okay.
Let's talk about your medicine and how herbalism is a form of medicine. And where do you think we lost that?
I would say, and this is just from my knowledge of being in the South, and listening to my elders, before we did not have access to modern medicine. We could only go to like the local herb lady. When we finally got access to modern medicine, then it was like, okay, we're going to bless you. It was like, okay, we're going to go to the modern medicine. We finally have access to it. Not necessarily keeping up with the Joneses, but yeah, like I got access to it now. Let me grab it. Without realizing that a lot of it was like testing on us. And then we just kind of got so far away from using herbs, because then it kind of became like the poor person's medicine. And we started relying heavily on modern medicine. But I think the two can go together, which is what I love to do. Like, I love to work with other medical personnel to just kind of like bounce ideas off of. I can't read a medical chart. If someone go get their lab results and they come to me, I don't know what their blood work says. I'm not a person that can look at someone and say, okay, I'm looking at you and I could tell you have diabetes, or I could tell you have high blood pressure. That part is needed by a medical professional. But I think that working hand in hand with that medical professional to get that person weaned off of their medicine and more into a holistic uh, diet lifestyle is what we need for our future. I would never tell someone to stop taking life saving medicine. You need time to let the herbs work and do what they need to do. Like, you didn't get this disease overnight. You're not going to be able to just automatically cure it overnight. So, create a plan with a holistic professional to where you're doing a holistic change. That is your food that you eat, the herbs you put into your body, and any exercising methods that you use. Actually spend like hundreds and actually thousands of dollars on a lot of my medical books. Like, when I tell you I have like library like, these are all of my books, but I spend tons of dollars on books that are written by doctors, they're written by nurses, they're written by people that actually study medicine, but they write it to where you can use herbs as replacements for a lot of the synthesized medicines that they've created. That is what I like to focus on. So right now, building out the 10-acre medicinal farm is taking a lot, but I am almost there. Like, I started the process July of last year. We are at almost February of this year. So I am still building it out, but it is finally starting to come together. My goal is to make herbs accessible to anyone that needs it for a good price. And then the nonprofit will be to give it to those that just honestly can't afford it. Mostly, my method is, you want to do something that's holistic but realistic. If you know you're not a person that can do cold turkey and just quit, holistic may not be the method for you, because it's going to take some time. It takes time to accurately and safely introduce new herbs into your system.
I love that you said that. Now, what is your favorite book to go to?
I actually have, okay, I don't know if you guys can see it. This is actually a 5 set book,
Mhm.
and I'm going to put up all 5. So I want to say each book cost me about like $40. And these actually go each system of the body and diseases that affect the body and illnesses that affect those components. So, like, for instance, this one is cardiovascular. This one has a formula for vascular infections, and it will actually go. I don't know if the screen is going to be able to see that much, but it'll actually go
Yeah.
through and give you herbs, formulas, and a regimen for treating it. And these are actually backed by doctors. And then I have another set of books that I'm going to show you. But I
When we
love
get
this
off,
set.
send me a link to that.
Yes, I'll send you a link. And I got them on Amazon. And I will say one thing about this author, she will not release the PDF version to these, because I do like to put a lot of my books once I buy them, like on PDF. And in this way, I can go through and kind of do a little bit more research on them and like do Google references for them. And this one is actually written by doctors. Now, I will tell you, this set actually cost me like $900.
My Lord. I'm a
But
book person too, so I get it.
yes. So this was a set that cost me 900. But when I tell you it's absolutely worth it. It gives a breakdown of, again, all the illnesses of the body. And then it tells you exactly why that illness is caused, how it affects other parts of the body, and then different herbs that you can use during the course of like the treatment for it, backed by science, backed by trials that they've done. These are my most valuable possessions. I'm telling you, like, if my house ever, something ever happened to it, I would literally cry because I'd be like, I need these books out of all the books that I
You
bought.
going back to the books. You going
That
back to
part,
the books. Save the
that
books.
part,
Save the books. You need to have an emergency bag for the books that you really, really don't want to lose.
that
Have a
part,
emergency preparedness bag. But
that
I
part.
do want to say, like, when I first started in like thinking I was gonna go to medical school, I always wanted to have a holistic healthcare clinic. That
Really?
was always my dream. And then I got into COVID world and it took away school for me. I was like, I'm not going back to school right now. I'm not going back to school right now. But I have looked into some programs and I think I'm going to go into lifestyle medicine after I finish up my doctorate and I'm going to get the certificate. So we'll be there. We'll be there. So I know that you wanted to talk about diabetes and how what herbs can help with diabetes or anything of that nature. Because one thing about it is diabetes is so prevalent in our community that it's normalized. And I talked about this with Dr. Candace Airline, who is a Pharm MD, and we were talking about how, medications that we need to take, and how half of the time we have normalized it so much that we just think that it runs in our family. But the reality is, what runs in our family is normally our diet, our traditions, all of those things. And so, if there was an herb that you would pick that is key to protecting someone and preventing them from getting diabetes, what would
So you definitely want to, and I'm actually pulling up my notes now.
it be?
What you said about not necessarily being hereditary, but being practices that we've passed
Mhm.
down is 100% spot on. So when you are dealing with diabetes, you want to deal with items that are for the pancreas, the liver, flushing of the kidneys, but also controlling your sugars and your insulin. One of the things that I will always tell someone is, let me see if I actually have. I have it somewhere on here, but I'm gonna have to look through all these herbs. Well, I would always say my favorite herb of all is going to be moringa tea. If you are someone that likes tea, moringa does a whole body of like cleansing for you. I know a lot of people are like sour sop, sour sop, sour sop. Sour sop can be good, but too much of it can actually reverse the benefits of it. Another thing, people are very into oregano oil, which is actually very good for you. Pure oregano oil is going to be the best for you. Also, having, if you have sores due to diabetes, because some people, their skin does not heal, you want to rinse that area with sage, which will help to cleanse it. You want to rinse that area with plantain and with yarrow, which is going to help heal the skin and stop any more infection from coming in. Plantain was actually coined as the soldier's herb because when they would be in battle, they would put the plantain on to stop the bleeding and to stop any more infection from coming in. Calendula is going to help heal that area as well. Internally, even though diabetes doesn't necessarily start at the heart, it can trigger some things with the heart. So you may want to look into things like hawthorn berries. Stronger root herbs, ginger is always a good stimulant herb to have. If you are someone that has sugar cravings and you're trying to control those sugar cravings, sienna leaves, sometimes you'll see those in like the ballerina tea or like the weight loss tea. Most of it is sienna herbs, the leaves that help to control those insulin spikes to keep you from always wanting those cravings.
Love that. Oh my goodness. That was a lot. And I'm glad that you said that because we do have so many people who suffer from those wounds. So I did home health for a little while as a nurse extern. And we would go to our patients' houses and we would get there. I would be wrapping up their feet. And then I saw a box of frosted flakes sitting right beside this man. And I said, why do you have them frosted flakes in here? He said, because I eat them. I said, do you know that that's probably one of the reasons why your foot won't heal right now? He was like, no, I just thought I had the sugars. I got diabetes and run in my family. And I was like, the way that you're eating is what is keeping your wounds from being able to heal. And I remember walking out to my car and I was with a nurse. I wasn't a nurse at the time. And she was like, I don't understand why he didn't understand that. I was like, because it's not explained to him in his language. In his language, he's understanding, he's connecting that the sugar is now what is causing my foot to hurt. And that wound on my foot is not healing. Initially, the doctor's just saying, oh, you have diabetes. You need to cut out sugar. It's not registering how much is harming the body. You're just telling me that I need to cut out something I've been doing for 60, 70 years. You're not telling me that it's going to cause me to not be able to walk anymore, to not see anymore, to not be able to get up and move around like I used to. Having that length of knowledge and speaking the language of patience is something that we need to have. And that's why I say I'm in the system. Do I want to be in the system? No, but I do feel like there is a benefit to having us there so that we can break down the language barriers around health.
Very true. You are exactly where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. I believe that, especially if you decide to go into herbalism, your knowledge will be unmatched because you've learned everything that you need to learn from the modern healthcare system to now be able to implement everything from the herb side to helping those patients, but also, like you said, explaining it to them. A lot of people are just told, hey, you have this, go, here's the medicine, go forth, right? And maybe they don't know how to look up the knowledge. Maybe they don't have time to do research on it. Maybe no one in their bloodline or friends that they've ever seen have done anything else other than taking the medicine. So that is what they know, that's what they're comfortable with. And until someone works with them like you did and say, actually, like this has a lot of sugars in it, he's probably thinking cereal is healthy because, growing up, it was like, hey, eat your cereal for breakfast, right? So he's thinking like cereal is healthy. That's not something I need to cut out. I only have like one soda a day. That can't be that much sugar. And you're just not realizing how much sugar is in it. One of the hardest things that I am overcoming with farming is that when I am giving food away to people, they don't know what to do with it. They look at it and they go, oh, thank you for these vegetables. And it kind of rots because they don't actually know what to do with it, how to cook with it. So now I'm like, okay, now I need to have like a full learning program of, even if I'm just showing simple recipes for how to cook with bok choy, how to, cook with collard greens other than doing, some a pot of greens. So, and like teaching people that, to where they don't look at it as, oh, it's going to take me so long to figure out what to do with all of this stuff. I don't have the time for it. I'm working 2, 3 jobs. I got all these kids. Like, I got a whole household. I don't have the time to learn this. Trying to give them information that's relatable, but also in bite size to where they can apply it to their everyday life.
I'm glad you said that because there are so many fruits and vegetables that we have no idea about.
Yes.
So growing up, there were a lot of things that I just hadn't come into contact with. And my dad would be like, "Oh, I didn't eat it because we ate it all the time as a kid. So I didn't feel like eating no squash. Or I didn't." And that became a staple of what I was eating when I was at college because it was quick to make zucchini, quick to make, throw it in the pot, go on about your business. But I think that we have lost so much of the farming aspect. We don't even really know, like you said, how to cook it, how to prepare it, what it will do for us, how to season it. And I think it would be really special if you did like a farm to table, like teaching people how to use these things and then seeing what they do need.
Very true. That is definitely a project of mine. I've actually started working with this young culinary. I don't want to call him a student. He was a student when I met him, and that's actually
Mhm.
how we met in school. He was going for culinary arts. He has been doing so well these last couple of years, to where I'm actually like working with him on trying to create like a menu, but also do like some YouTube type videos, so
Mhm.
that once I do get the event center set up, he's able to just kind of, say, hey, we're going to take these greens from the field, or we're going to take this squash from the field. We're going to take this, and I'm going to show you how you can herb and whip this up and make it a quick 30-minute meal. So that way it does make it a lot easier and more accessible for people. And I also think there is a major disconnect with our generation and the younger generation when it does come to farming. Although I love it because I'm starting to see the movement to get back to it. But a lot of people have grown up thinking that farming is slave work. So they've actually like shied away from it without realizing, when you're out working in the garden, you're actually like grounding yourself, but you're connecting yourself to whatever your spiritual belief is. It's very peaceful and it's very calming. And I started getting into it more when I would get so stressed out with work, because I came from the insurance industry of working like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I would get to the point to where I felt like I was going to stroke out. I would get so stressed out to where I would get up and actually go out into my garden. And that was like, it was that energy that was just like putting my soul back to reset.
I think people don't even really recognize that because, like you said, it is the mindset that we have to get away from that. And it's going to be very hard for us to break away from the mindset that we have to return back to our roots. These, this is the reason why they took us because we were farming, we were creating systems, we were making irrigation systems underground. I don't know if you've seen that in South Carolina, they had a drone up in the air and they saw highlighted spots of where the Gullah Geechee tribe had made irrigation systems, fine irrigation systems to create water in areas where there was none.
I gotta YouTube that. Okay.
Yes. And so they had all of these intricate systems. So they took us for a reason and then they took that away. So now we are living in a society where people don't really necessarily know how to return to their roots because we have no idea what it looks like. A lot of our grandparents didn't want to talk about what slavery looked like, what indentured servitude looked like, very similar to slavery, and what it looks like now in the South. I'm from a very small town in the South where the slave quarter still exists. And 2 cities over, they just integrated proms. So it is a really, really huge thing to try to break that mindset and say, hey, I'm returning back to my roots because we have no idea how to get back there. But you do have to look within because it's always still going to be
That part. Very true. And like you said, this is part of our roots. A lot of the crops that we grow up eating now were actually never native to this land. They were actually seeds that were brought from some from Africa, some from the Caribbean, some from South America that were brought here from people that were slaves, captured, indentured servitude. And they would bring those seeds with them as part of home, grow
Mhm.
them here, and then it just started to become, a way of life here to eat those staples. So definitely getting back to the roots is hard because a lot of the knowledge is not readily accessible. A lot of it is passed down knowledge. And if you don't have someone that passes down that knowledge to you from your bloodline, you have to go to other sources for it. But there's strength in numbers. And I like the fact that now when I'm on Facebook and I'm in these groups, it's hundreds of thousands of us that are getting back to it. So it's a large movement and I love it.
Yes, I think that is so beautiful. And like you said, it is taught by tradition, by verbal, like passing it down from generation to generation. And I'm glad that I lived in a town, in a city where, the community was like family. So I could walk down the road and you said like you put your scraps in a bucket. I'm at somebody else's house eating. This is my family in relation, but not by blood. But the way that community was built while I was growing up and seeing how if you needed something, you could go to somebody. If you needed a fruit or a vegetable, you could go to somebody. I had a lady, I call her Mama Catherine, and she was not my mother. She was not my grandmother. She was a lady who lived down the street. She was our popsicle lady, and she was older. She would tell us if you want blueberry doobie, which was like a dumpling with fruit in it. I have no idea how to make it. But she was like, if you want it, you gotta go pick it out the tree. So we would have to go climb in the tree, pick it, bring it back, and she would cook it for us. A lot of that is not for our people up north, they miss that part because migration happened, so everybody went up north. But being able to be still, because that's what it's going to take for people to get back to their roots, get back to farming, get back to herbalism, the traditions that we lost because we do have tradition. We just turn slop into soul food with it. So I do want to talk about your upcoming venture. So whenever you open up your farm, are you going to open it up to the community?
Partially. And I only say that because, for one, it's so rural. So, if anyone is familiar with Macon, Georgia, it's another 30 minutes outside of Macon, Georgia. I love that the community is diverse. It is actually 65% African American. So I do love that because even though I'm like out there in the country, I still feel like, I look across the street and that person is black. And although this person over here may be Caucasian like that, I feel like I'm
Mhm.
still with the people. The event center and the cabins and the 1 acre of community garden will be open to the public. The rest of it, because for one, my home will be on there, but also I'll have like a lot of commercially grown items that part won't necessarily be open to the public. I am trying to decide if every once in a while if I may do a tour just to show how I've set up those systems. But because I want to keep like any contamination down, it's a thin line. So I'm trying to figure that part out.
And you'll figure it out, and it's going to be really, really beautiful. I would like to say thank you so much for everything that you're doing, everything that you've done, bringing herbalism back into our community and making it good because we haven't even talked about TX herbs, honey. We got to get into TX herbs, what it is, and how did that come about?
Yes, so I wanted I wanted to originally have a tea store. That is still my dream. But when COVID hit, I was like, this isn't the right time. I had a spa at the same time that I had opened maybe a year or two before COVID. And I ended up shutting it down during COVID because, all the limitations and things of that nature. And I always said like I was going to take the money from that sale and open up a tea store. And like I wanted to where people could come in and they could like, if they wanted to make their own blend, we could make it for. If they wanted to learn about a certain herb, like we can go over that face-to-face consultations. But my dream is still to have a actual spot where people come and they just sip on tea and catch a vibe. And that's kind of how the business grew, because I was like, well, I still want to have good flavored teas, but I also want to do herbs and I want to make it accessible to everybody. So I started it online. I'm not going to lie to you, it is a journey. I am someone that is not good with constantly being on social media. I prefer organic relationships as opposed to online relationships. I don't post as often as I should, but I love the fact that people still find me. I always say like your tribe will find you. And actually like a lot of people from your group, they still use the code that I gave, and they still like they're ordering on a regular. Like I've never discontinued it because I'm like,
No.
yeah, I've never discontinued it because I'm like, hey, you guys are doing your thing. If that's the price point that you need, that's perfect. But that's initially how I started it. And my love for tea actually came from my mom. So my mom introduced me to tea. She would always have just like a cabinet full of teas growing up. And she was like, oh, I just need like a tea, or oh, your stomach hurt. Let's have a tea. That was just always a thing. So that's how it came about. Then it became an education thing. Like, okay, I see that people want herbs, they don't know which herbs they want. So then it became like the education thing. Okay, now I got to teach them so that they are getting the best benefit out of something. The last thing I want is for someone to buy $20 worth of herbs and they don't know what to do with it, and that $20 could have, went to feed their kids. So
And I'm glad my mom actually introduced me to tea as well, but she didn't have like a cabinet full of teas. It would be a black tea with some milk and some sugar in it every morning before school. And so when I got old enough, I started venturing out like, oh, this is a tea. This is a tea. This is a tea. So once I had gotten out of undergrad, I was like, I am a teacher. I love tea. I am a tea drinker. So when I found you, I was like, yeah, yeah, I really love it. What is your favorite tea today?
my favorite tea, oh, I have it. Okay. This is my sunrise turmeric.
Mhm.
Turmeric is very strong by itself, but this one has fruit pieces in it. So this one has some strawberries in it, elderberry in it, apple pieces in it to give it a fruity note, but you're still getting all the benefits of turmeric. And so this is like my everyday go to because I feel like, okay, I got the turmeric, all the benefits of it, but I also have the fruits there to make it more palatable, like easier for it to go down. I'm a fruit tea kind of person. I don't even need sugar if the fruit content is in the tea. So like that's the kind of person that I am. So that is my absolute favorite. And then I would say my second favorite would be chamomile zinger. So it's chamomile, but it also has lemongrass in it and mint.
Mm.
So you get the common effects of chamomile, but I'm gonna tell you, as I'm getting older, I'm learning my digestion is not what it used to be. So before I go to bed, I have my chamomile to kind of like calm me down, but that lemongrass and the mint also kind of help with my digestion. So I'm not having like heartburn or anything like that before I go to sleep.
And I love that. Girl, I was in the kitchen the other day with my mother-in-law and I was like, you want some tea? Because, my baby has his little teacup. His dad has his teacup. We be drinking your teas. And then she was like, I don't drink tea. I was like, have you had tea? She was like, yeah, like the Lipton tea. I don't drink that. I was like, this is not Lipton tea. I was like, I had to explain to her the vastness of what tea is. And she actually drunk one of your teas and she was like, you know what? I actually liked it. She was like, I actually like, because I did have a few left over from the event. And she was like, I really do like this. I might start drinking tea.
We got to convert.
For some of the people who came to the tea party, some of my friends from work, they were like, girl, I don't drink tea. I was like, it's okay if you don't drink tea. You can still come. And they were drinking the heck out of that tea. Your signature tea. They were tearing it up. She was like, I need to. what is the name of that girl? I had to send it to her at work. I was like, here go the tea.
The purple papaya.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was so good. And some people sweetened it, some people didn't. I don't even think I had to sweeten it. It was really, really good.
Definitely, I appreciate that. And just like you said, it's a lot of people will say I don't drink tea because they're used to the little tea bag at the grocery store. And if all your mama drunk was like sweet tea, then that was it. And you'd be like, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
really a tea person. But once they get to like try new things, and I'm guilty of that because I'm like, I'm not a coffee person. And then someone will bring me like a iced latte, something, something. I'd be
Sweet.
like, right. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of good. I might actually like this.
Definitely, but I do not like coffee. But if you add enough sweetener in there to where I can't taste it, I'm fine. I'm okay with
Right.
that. And
Right.
then I also had a cousin who swore she did not like tea. She's actually a PA and she is doing really, really well with her diabetic patients as well, like trending them off of their medications, getting their A1Cs down. I am extremely proud of her. But she used to say, Keisha, I don't drink tea. I was like, you are always boiling some water and putting some lemon in it. That's tea. She was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. But now, if something is wrong, she'll go get her a ginger lemon tea. She'll get, and I was like, see, now you're drinking tea.
And
So I'm settling tea.
let me tell you, and you keep pushing it, girl, push it. But it has definitely worked for me. So I said before, I was in the insurance industry and I was chasing money so much to where I became the unhealthiest I had ever been. 2023, 2024. I would literally sit at my desk 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and just eat whatever I could find. So my weight like ballooned. And being able to replace the sugary drinks with tea, the flavored teas, has definitely helped me with getting my body back to where it needs to be. And it's still like a journey because you can go through life and not even realize the changes that your body are going through until you just stop one day and you look and you be like, dang, like this don't fit. I don't look the way I used to. All this other stuff. Like I'm moving differently. So for those people that are like, "Oh, I'm not a tea person," I say start with some nice fruity options that are things that you love. If you know you love strawberries, you know you love berries, like start with some of those and start using that as replacements for sugary drinks because that is a very easy way to cut out sugars and then, it slowly starts to make it more healthier for your body. So, I'm a living testament to that.
Yes. What form of insurance were you in?
Adjusting. So I would do adjusting mostly for property. So like every time that there was like a major storm, hail, hurricane, freeze, I would be working nonstop. Girl, there were times I was working like 3 jobs at a time. Because when I tell you I was chasing the money, all I knew was
Yeah,
I
do
needed
it.
to make
Chasing a
X
bag
amount.
is so unhealthy.
It's so unhealthy, but it's like you get caught up in this hustle mentality of like, I gotta hustle. And the work culture is not good either because they push the hustle mentality like, oh, you could get your work done if you just worked harder. And instead of it
Yeah.
being like, well, no, if it was actually more realistic, I wouldn't even have to work this hard. But,
Yeah.
chasing I thought that I needed a certain amount of money to be successful and to be financially where I wanted to be without realizing that, okay, if I cut back on a lot of the things that I think that I need, I actually don't have to chase the money as much. And so that's where I'm at in my life now is to where it's like, okay, let me kind of scale back from a lot of this stuff so I can actually focus on my health more than focusing on, chasing.
I'm glad that you said that because I was in insurance as well for just a little while. And I
It's
was
hard.
in life and I saw how they did not care. They did not. My higher up actually said he didn't care that I had a 6 month. And
Yeah.
when I heard that, I was like, "Child, I ain't got time. I have no time to do this part time if you're gonna treat me like this. And I'm bringing in numbers and I'm bringing in money, and you're like more, more. But I chose part time for a reason. So when you said that, it's a toxic work environment, you have to put yourself first. In putting yourself first, you did have to leave that industry. But look at where you are now. Like I'm I'm pushing a T. Okay. I do want to say Lavender lemon drop tea, I had to go look at it. I had to go look for it. But that lavender lemon drop tea is
Yeah.
so good.
Look, I'm trying to look. Here it is. That's actually, this is a good seller too. I don't know if everybody, like, it has fruit in it, lemon, lemongrass. It has the blue cornflower, which is really good for soothing.
Mhm.
I love it. Yeah.
It's so good. Y'all, what I want to say to you is if you think that you don't like tea, because I'm not going to say you don't like tea, I think that you don't like tea. You have not found the tea for you. In particular, getting the bottles from the tea, the Lipton tea, the sweet teas, whatever tea that you're finding off of the shelf. Sometimes that's not going to be the best for you. You're not going to like how that tastes. But when you venture outside of the norm of what sweet tea is, because I love sweet tea. I used to ask people, how sweet is your sweet tea? Because I need it to be extra sweet. Okay. But the reality is that you can use teas to heal your body. You can use teas to get some sleep. You can use teas for so many things. But most importantly, you can use teas to ground yourself. So when I tell you, it's not that you don't like teas because you haven't had the teas. Go get you a lavender lemon drop tea.
Exactly. And I'm gonna tell you something, because I actually have like teas for cold and flu. So like the
Mhm.
easy breathing wellness and a speedy recovery. And then there's also like a nighttime one that I have. You can actually turn a tea into a syrup, like a cough syrup. So if you have like a herbal tea for cold and flu, you can put like a tablespoon of tea with a cup of sugar and not a cup of sugar, I'm sorry, a cup of water and a tablespoon of sugar. Let that all just cook and simmer on low. Or if you have a crock pot, you can do a larger batch in a crock pot. Let it all cook and simmer on low until a lot of the water starts to evaporate and you have like a syrup. And then you can take that as like a spoonful of medicine. If you are not one of those people that want to go off and buy like store bought medicine, you can definitely turn a herbal tea into that. And I have one lady, that's all she gets from me. She calls me and she's like, "Hey, I need another batch of your sleep tea." And she takes it and she just makes a syrup out of it. She's like, "I have insomnia." She has a very rigorous work schedule. She's like, "I have insomnia. I want something to help me go to sleep every day. I don't want to take a drug for it. I don't want to be walking around like a zombie. I just need something that's going to help me sleep." She gets my sleep tea. She makes herself a syrup out of it, enough to last her for a week. She has it, and she uses honey instead of sugar, which is even better.
Mhm.
She keeps it in the fridge, and every night she just takes a tablespoon and she goes to sleep. So you can always turn a good herbal tea into a syrup for like cough medicine or anything like that.
I'm glad that you said that because I gotta put in an order with you. I'm gonna put it in after I get off of here because I gotta get some for my friend because I did tell her I was gonna get her some because I was on your website about 2 weeks ago. I said you said you don't like tea. You said you're having trouble sleeping. Here you go. Here go a tea right.
Right.
But I am super excited for what we have in store. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, she will be bending. She will be the host, the face of the R&B tea party. We just kind of there. We in her world, drinking her tea. Okay. But she will also be doing a workshop over tea and the body. So if you haven't grabbed your tickets, go ahead and grab your tickets because this is definitely something that you need to be a part of, especially because, like I said, we haven't gotten rest in so long. We don't know what it looks like. We're tired all the time. All we're doing is all of the things for our jobs. We're not doing what we need to do for ourselves. So I think that that is very, very important. Miss Brittany, thank you so much for coming onto this podcast because you did not have to come on here, but you did.
I love this. Like, girl, have me back anytime. I'm here
And
for it.
I
I love it.
will.
It was fun.
And I will. And I'm glad that you came on here. And I just want to say thank you again so much for everything that you have done for me, for everything that you have done for the Evolved Nurse. I really do appreciate you for everything. And with that being said, I hope that y'all have a great day. And we are out. Bye.
Bye, guys.